Somatic markers. Simply put, somatic markers are some kind of bookmarks or shortcuts in our brains which have been created by past experiences of rewards or punishment and serve to connect an experience or an emotion with a specific required reaction in the moment by instantly, without us realizing it, helping us narrow down the possibilities we have available that we are presented with a certain situation. And they are made to guide us towards a decision that our brains know it will take us to the best, least painful, or most satisfying outcome. These somatic markers are what many call pre-programming, done in our past, often in the childhood years, based on experiences that we've been through. However, we continue to make new connections and set new bookmarks throughout our lives. Let's see an example. Imagine a time when you, as a young child, maybe in kindergarten or in first grade, you just got home from school hungry and you ran to the kitchen to see what's that delicious smell that's coming from the stove. On the stove there was this cast iron pan in which you can see a few beautiful slices of sizzling bacon. Without thinking twice, you put one hand on the handle of the pan and the other one in the pan, trying to get a piece of the bacon. And immediately you scream and pull back with pain because both your handle and the bacon were extremely hot. Assuming that you didn't burn yourself too badly, you're still in tears when your mom comes running to comfort you. And 30 minutes later, or even less for young children, they're back at playing with the toys after mom sat them down at the table and gave them the delicious bacon when it was done cooking. The tenderness of the little bird perhaps vanished in a few days because you were young and the cells regenerate pretty fast, and you may think you forgot all about this nasty experience. And you did. However, your human mind, it's not quite so lenient as you are. Our minds put events like this in the back of our little subconscious minds. However, it never gets forgotten. Technically, what truly happened that day was that you just added a new program to your subconscious mind, and the neurons in the brain have just put together, linking with each other, the concepts of hot, stove, fingertips, pain, pan. This link of different concepts connected with each other by a certain experience and creating a memory like a bookmark or a shortcut in our brains, it's called a somatic marker. And we have hundreds, if not thousands of them in our brains based on things that have happened to us in our past. This is how we know how we should approach a dog to not get bit, how we should not touch anything in the hot oven, etc. The funny thing is though, if someone asks us how we know those things, many of us will just say that it's pure instinct. But is it really? Let's take another example and let's assume that we are going to buy bottled water from our nearest grocery store. Let's assume that we are in Florida for the sake of our example. If you are like many consumers, you would think about your choice for at least 1 or 2 seconds at maximum before deciding. So you go to the shelves with the bottle of water and you look at all the options. There are at least dozens of different types of bottled waters. Glass bottles, plastic bottles in all shapes, sizes, colors. So you may think that your choice of reaching out for one of them versus another, it's a rational choice. However, studies show that the choice that we make when we buy products are very, very, very rarely rational choices. What happens is that in our subconscious mind, there are full-on conversations that go on when we choose one product over another product. for the fun of it, and to help you to perhaps attempt to identify some of these conversations in your head, let's, take an example of what conversation may take in one person's head in a blink of a second who is shopping for a bottle of water. Dasani, is this the one that Coca-Cola makes? Someone told me a while back that this is nothing more than tap water. I don't think I want to pay money to get tap water, so I'll pass on that. How about Aquafina? Well, this is purified drinking water made by Pepsi, I believe. Regardless, I don't think it's anything special about it, so I don't know. Maybe not the water for me. Oh, how about this artisan water, Fiji? Those bottles look really cool. They're square. I always wanted to go to Fiji. Will I ever make it there? How about Crystal Geyser Alpine spring water? The bottle looks the same like the rest of them, but it's from the mountains. But I live in Florida, and I think I want to support the local company. Oh, Evian. It's a natural spring water from France, and I really love France. No idea where the name comes from, but isn't France a beautiful country with great food? The light blue bottle looks so clean and so simple. It's kind of cool looking. It makes me think of the mountains, maybe the Alps. Oh, and it's expensive too, which probably means it's special. I will buy a bottle of that one to try it out. That will be a model of conversation. Isn't it interesting that, you've not tasted the water, but your gut tells you that you've made the right decision. However, if anybody would ask you, how did you reach this decision? More than likely, most people would say something like, oh, I just did, or I just knew, or I don't know, just want to try. Because my instinct tells me that this is the right choice for me. But the real reason behind your choice was in fact a mountain of associations, some positive, other negative, that your brain made in just a few milliseconds without you being conscious of it. When we take any decision to buy anything, our brain starts scanning through huge amounts of memories, of facts, and of emotions that we've been exposed to. The scanning happens in just a sweep of a second, and the result is exactly what we put in our shopping carts. Many studies done by major brand and retail experts found that around 50% of all purchasing decisions by all shoppers are made in an instant and therefore subconsciously, often done not before but right at the point of sale, which is not when we go to the register to pay, but is right when we put that product in the basket. Again, these brain shortcuts are called somatic markers and are at the base of most of our buying decisions. Remember my previous example. It takes us less than a few seconds to choose the water that we want to buy or to associate touching a hot pan with pain, and all of these are emotional reactions. All of the sudden now, we just know which brand we want, but we are completely unaware that we actually paid attention at a subconscious level to all these different details. We looked at the shape and the color of the product container. We might have had some past or even childhood memories. We paid attention to the price and the value it offers and many other factors that we consider in order to reach our decision. But remember, like I said, somatic markers are more than just a collection of reflexes from the childhood. We create new of these somatic markers for ourselves every single day, and we add them to our already existing folder. We do that for everything that we choose to buy at the grocery store as food. We do that for our cosmetic products, our moisturizers. We do that for clothes, for electronics, for cars. And we also use them for many other decisions as well, like how much money we want to spend or how much money we want to get out of the ATM machine. Or we use them when we plug something into an electric outlet, knowing not to stick our fingers in there too. So these are imprinted, they are in our brains. Let's look at another example. Have you ever considered understanding why many consumers would buy a Mercedes-Benz, for example, over another car that may be looking just as nice or maybe even nicer to some, but just as efficient and have a lower price point? Many people will say, I want a Mercedes because it's a German car. But what does that really mean? There must be more to it than the zip code at which it was made, right? What describes a German car makes it so desirable? Most of the time, it's because our subconscious mind has been programmed for us to connect Germany with technological excellence, with high standards, with precision, as well as with consistency and efficiency. But do you think that people who are driving a German car realize that that's why they're driving that car and are aware that their brains already went through a multitude of factors and considerations before they decided to buy it? Put yourself in their skin and imagine yourself as a German car driver. Have you ever even researched anything about German technology yourself? Or simply you've heard it around from marketers who made ads online or on TV praising it? This raises even more questions. Are these somatic markers always formed naturally by our experiences, or there is a chance that marketing companies are helping us create them in our subconscious mind? Has it ever happened to you to feel that when you make a purchase, you're making the right choice, but you cannot really articulate why that is the right choice? If that ever happened to you, it's more than likely because your choice for certain brands or products has very little to do with that brand or product itself, but instead it has a lot to do with the somatic markers that the brand and its marketers very carefully created and implanted in your subconscious mind. Studies have shown that for advertisers, it's a pretty easy and inexpensive process to create a somatic marker in their consumer's brain, usually attempting to hook our attention by creating surprising associations between two separate things that seem like they have nothing in common at first sight. I particularly remember one of the T-Mobile commercials in the United States with that really cool futuristic looking motorcycle, bright pink, drove by a girl wearing a suit and a casket in white and black and pink. What does the girl riding a pink motorcycle have anything to do with the wireless cell phone provider? Nothing at first sight. But in my subconscious mind, this is what I believed that happened. The commercial connected my teenage years' desire of riding my own motorcycle. But because I was a girl and because I'm short, that was never a possibility for me to be able to touch the floor, the ground, with both feet being on a sports bike. Especially because, motorcycles were also specifically geared towards men. However, seeing that commercial brought back an emotional connection and a desire that my brain linked to T-Mobile as the wireless company of the future for me. And do you think I am the only one who made some kind of a connection? Not by far. That same commercial brought out different somatic markers in different people, and T-Mobile had a big market increase because of that campaign. Keep in mind that because somatic markers are based on past experiences of both reward or punishment, fear and happiness, and also humor can connect to our subconscious minds just as well. How many commercials have you not seen in the United States for medicine against depression, or for diet pills and gym memberships to prevent overweight? These are examples of advertising based on fear-driven somatic markers, as marketers and advertisers attempt to scare us into believing that not buying their products will make us feel less safe or less happy, or less healthy, or less free, or less in control of our lives. On the other hand, do you remember those commercials for Mucinex, the cold medicine that helps with the stuffy nose and sinus cleaning? The commercials had this kind of gross but kind of funny looking green cartoon mucus making funny faces and shrinking as we take the medicine. So they're getting smaller and smaller. And how about that little gecko from Geico? Isn't he adorable? How many consumers do you think switched to Geico for the insurance needs just because of that little gecko? Plenty. Plenty to make sense to keep using that gecko for years and years by the Geico company. So you can see how important these somatic markers and advertising to them is, and how well we as consumers tend to respond to the advertising and marketing campaigns focused on this element. As a fun exercise, I challenge you to identify, as much as humanly possible, some rational arguments that you catch yourself thinking before you make your next purchase decision. Also, try to identify what somatic markers are coming to the surface when you choose to buy certain products over others.